Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, to another episode of Doc Talk. I'm your host, Scott Walker, still here with my guy, as always, Dr. Michael H. Boothby of Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. What's going on, Doc?
Hey, hello guys. How is everybody? Getting through Easter and had a great weekend. Spent some downtime, so ready to talk a little football.
Yeah, you said Easter is one of your favorite holidays, and we don't have football that holiday, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about football.
That's
And
it, right? We keep it near and dear to our heart, and anytime family gets together, inevitably there's a football conversation that happens, and what's going on here or there, and so even though it's not on the field right now, it can be again near to our heart.
Well, usually when I bring you on, right, we're talking about some gloomy injury news that happened to a Cowboy player, but this time we don't really have to talk about an injury that has happened to a Cowboy player, so that's a good thing. However,
Sure.
when the Cowboys go out and sign or acquire free agents or any player, one of the first things I do is go look at the injury history and say, is there something to be concerned about with this said player? And Brandin Cooks had a injury label tagged on him earlier on in his career. He would get hurt here and there, not miss a ton of games, but just dinged up. And one of the things that kind of came up with Brandin Cooks a lot early on was concussions. And the NFL was big on concussions. So he's had 3 in his career. You don't want to see him get a 4th one, but if he were to get a 4th one, what would that look like from a health professional? Is that something concerning where, like Tua, for instance, Tua right now had a couple last year, and a lot of people are like, hey, I'm concerned about Tua. Would you be concerned about Brandin Cooks and his recent his history of concussions and potential to get another one?
Sure. So, again, this is a great discussion to have. And concussion is that type of injury that is just not quite as well understood as some of the, more mechanical, dramatic, extremity injuries that we have. So, we've treated broken arms and broken legs and ACL tears and Bankart lesions and labral tears for years, and it's a mechanical problem that we really, as a medical community, understand quite well. Concussion is a little bit different because we're dealing with mechanical trauma, but we're dealing in somebody's brain, and so the tissue is a little bit different. The healing process is a little bit different. But I do think it's important to look at it like that, as a mechanical injury, as to any other body part, just to a different tissue, and that your brain obviously has a lot of controlling functions over the rest of your body. So those injuries can have different manifestations. So this is a great conversation to have, just as important as somebody who tweaks their knee or somebody who has back pain or a disc injury, just dealing with a different body part. So, to your question in terms of, can kind of chronic or recurrent concussions, him having had 3 before, lead to an increase? It can lead to a couple of things. Number one, it can lead to an increased risk of a subsequent concussion. And so we've learned that that this is a linear type of risk scale. So if you've had 1 concussion, the risk of getting a second one is 1 to 2 times higher. If you've had 2 concussions, the risk of getting a third is 2 to 4 times higher. If you've had 3 concussions, the risk is 3 to 9 times higher. So as the brain sustains injury, as it creates inflammation, and as the blood supply to those inflamed areas changes, it increases that risk over time. So that that is the general answer to your question, but there's more to dig there if you want.
A good thing about him, what I noticed was his last concussion was in 2019. So we're talking about 4-year calendar year, separation. So that's obviously a good thing to notice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the number that we typically use is a year. And so if you have more than 1 concussion in a year, that's not a great thing. And typically, if we can separate a concussive injury by a year, it tends to allow the original concussion, the first one, to heal kind of as much as it's going to heal. It doesn't decrease the risk that there's a higher risk of a subsequent injury, but it does lower the risk of kind of more chronic symptoms developing, kind of this post-concussive symptoms that can be chronic and longer term. So you're exactly right. The fact that the last one was 2019 is definitely a good sign for him. But he is at a slightly higher risk, profile, having had the history of 3 previous ones.
Another player the Cowboys acquired that I wanted to go take a look at is Ronald Jones, and he plays a position that's extremely physical. So,
Sure.
anytime any team really gets a running back that's been in the league for a while, you want to see how many carries has he had, the physical toll on his body. And the most recent thing that I know is from Ronald Jones is something that I've never heard, which is
Yeah,
perfect time to ask you about this. What
sure.
the heck is a pedal ankle sprain? Which he
Well, it's
acquired in
not
week
a term.
17.
It's not a term, honestly, that we use very regularly. We typically divide ankle injuries into kind of traditional ankle sprains, which is what this one is, which is involving the ligaments, the 3 ligament groups right around the ankle itself, versus high ankle sprains, which tends to involve the syndesmosis, which is a ligament complex that is above, obviously, high ankle sprain, which is above the ankle and in the lower leg. And so, this pedal ankle strains like this tend to be more the traditional type, more involving the foot. And so they tend to, thankfully for him, resolve quicker. And so we can see a more traditional kind of healing pattern in terms of both stability as well as pain control. So he had his at the end of the regular season last year, if memory serves me
Yes.
correctly. And so, in terms of him being ready for this coming preseason, as long as the ankle is stable, and once it's stable, it typically will start hurting significantly less. He should be ready to go as we kind of turn the page here and start preseason.
So the pedal situation with him is nothing to be overly concerned about per
Yeah,
se.
I really wouldn't. I think it's just, it's a label. Again, it's not as typically used for a more traditional ankle sprain, and these are common. That doesn't mean that, there can't be grades of ankle injury, right?
Right.
So there's more minor ones and there's more significant ones and sometimes, I mean, grade 3 ankle sprains can sometimes even require surgery. So it's not, I'm trying not to be dismissive of that, but compared to the return to play for say a high ankle sprain, which typically can be, up to 2 times as long. This is a better one to have. This is the one that you want if you have to have, that sort of injury.
Well, Dallas is already dealing with one running back with ankle issues right now. Tony Pollard, and hopefully next time we talk, we'll have a better update on what's going on with him. But last we talked, sounded like he was ahead of schedule, so that's a great news to hear.
It's where you want to be. Obviously, it beats the alternative, and he's got a great team working with him, and if he can just kind of keep moving forward, keep staying ahead of the curve, I think he'll bounce out from this, and we'll be in good shape.
Indeed, Doc. Hey, let them know where they can find you and your great team if they have any type of health issues that they need to attend to.
Absolutely, for sure. We're the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. We're here in Fort Worth. We have offices in Decatur. We have offices in Mansfield. So we would love to help you out. You can find us on the web at osmifw.com, or give us a call at 817-529-1900.
All right, Cowboys Nation, that'll do it for Doc Talk this week. We'll get Dr. Boothby back on probably later this month, I believe it is. If not, when next time we talk to you, it'll obviously be a good time, man. Appreciate you, Doc.
Very good, man. Hey, have a great rest of your day.